The Serren Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for centuries, had enslaved humanity. Humans were oppressed, humiliated, and forced to work like slaves in the harshest conditions of the galaxy under the Empire's vast and oppressive rule. The Serren viewed humans as short-lived, weak, and easily controlled, and therefore saw no threat of rebellion. To them, humans were insignificant beings in the universe, worthless and easily discarded. However, this arrogance would become the Empire's greatest mistake. Marcus, who had been crushed under this brutal regime for years, was now ready to raise the flag of rebellion. His underground resistance group, which he called the Ashes, was about to become the Empire's worst nightmare. Marcus had begun crafting plans to challenge the vast power that underestimated humanity's resilience and endurance, using nothing but his wits and courage. The resistance, which had been gathering in secret, was preparing for its first major operation. Marcus stood before a holographic map, carefully studying the target they were about to strike. This target was one of the Serren Empire's largest logistics bases, and an attack here could deal a significant blow to their military power. "This is the place," Marcus said, turning to his team. "If we bring this base down, the Serren won't recover for a long time. This is one of their main arteries." Fiona, the team's strategist and Marcus' most trusted ally, stood by the hologram. "There are 4 main security layers," she continued. "If our plan works, we'll be able to disable their defense systems for only 10 minutes. We'll need to move fast." Marcus looked around. He saw the determination in his comrades' eyes. They weren't just a group of humans. They were fighters who had been crushed under the Empire's rule for years, who had lost their families, whose freedoms had been taken away. They were ready to sacrifice everything to win this war. "Everyone, take your positions," Marcus ordered. "This is just the beginning." The operation was set to begin at the darkest hour of the night. Moving silently, Marcus and his team felt their excitement grow as they neared the Serren base. Every step brought them closer to either victory or death. Fiona began working on the electronic panel, cracking a series of complex codes. Her fingers danced swiftly over the keyboard, while Marcus kept a close watch on the surroundings. It was quiet, but beneath that silence was the tension of something about to explode. Fiona suddenly paused and turned to the team. "I've disabled the security systems. We've only got 10 minutes now. We need to be quick." On Marcus' command, the team moved swiftly into the deeper sections of the base. They silently neutralized a few Serren guards they encountered along the way. The Imperial soldiers were caught off guard by this sudden attack. Marcus and his team fought their way through every corridor, every room, moving like shadows. But then, a loud alarm blared. "They've spotted us," Marcus growled through gritted teeth. "Now the real fight begins." Serren soldiers, clad in heavy armor and wielding high-tech weapons, began to flood towards them. The first skirmish erupted in a narrow hallway. Marcus aimed his laser rifle and opened fire. One of the enemy soldiers fell, but more were closing in fast. "Hold your positions," Marcus shouted to his comrades behind him. "Show them who we are." As the battle intensified, the corridor echoed with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. Marcus saw his friends fighting bravely around him. Bullets whizzed through the air, walls crumbled under the force of the explosions, and chaos reigned. Fiona took out a few Serren soldiers before yelling to Marcus, "We can't hold out much longer. We need to breach their interior fast." Marcus nodded and led his team deeper into the base. Through intense fighting, they finally reached the heart of the Serren stronghold, where Fiona quickly reconnected to the systems. "We need to plant an explosive here," she said. "If we blow this base up, it will cripple the Serren for a long time." As they placed the explosive, the enemy forces continued to press in. Marcus, firing his laser rifle, leaned against the wall for cover. The Serren soldiers were closing in from all sides, raining down on them like a storm. But Marcus wouldn't give up. "This is for our freedom," he muttered. "This is for the future of humanity." Sweating, Fiona finished the final adjustments. "Done," she shouted. "The explosive is set. Now we need to get out of here." Marcus and his team retreated just in time, moments before a massive explosion ripped through the base. The Serren stronghold erupted into a fiery ball, the explosion visible from miles away. The Empire had not anticipated such an attack. But this was just the beginning. From these ashes, a fire had been lit against the galactic tyranny. After the explosion of the Serren base, Marcus and his team quickly moved through the shadows, retreating. They watched as the base was reduced to rubble, fully aware that the Serren Empire would retaliate. But this explosion was the first major blow to the Empire's arrogant face. Humanity had begun to resist, and it was only a matter of time before this flame spread. When they returned to the underground headquarters, new plans were already forming in Marcus's mind. The explosion hadn't just destroyed the base, it had also sparked hope in the enslaved humans across the galaxy. They had proven that the Serren Empire was not invincible, that it could be defeated. But Marcus knew that this was only a single victory. To win the war, they would need bigger, bolder moves. Back at the headquarters, everyone had gathered. Marcus stood in the center of the room. Maps, strategy plans, and holographic displays of the upcoming battle were plastered across the walls. His teammates and the other rebels were waiting for him to speak. Fiona was analyzing the latest intelligence reports from the Serren Empire on the monitor beside him. The explosion had shaken their morale, but it had also made the Serrens even more ruthless. Marcus took a deep breath and began to speak. They called us weak. They thought we couldn't resist, that we were nothing more than slaves. But today, we've shown them that the Serren Empire is not invincible. This is just the beginning. Greater operations, greater victories await us. But it's going to come at a heavy price. The silence in the room showed how focused everyone was. Fiona turned to Marcus and added, "We have a new target." After the explosion, the Serrens are launching a massive retaliation operation. A fleet of war cruisers is preparing to wipe out the human colonies in the outer regions of the galaxy. If we don't act fast, it'll be a massacre. Marcus leaned over the hologram, studying the trajectory of the Serren cruisers. His eyes lit up. Those cruisers are powerful, but they have weak points. If we strike at the right time and place, we can take them down. Fiona pulled up schematics of the cruiser's armor and energy sources on the screen. If we hit their energy transfer points, the cruisers will be defenseless. But this mission will be extremely dangerous. The Serren fleet is incredibly strong and well organized. Marcus turned to his team, pausing for a moment. He looked each one of them in the eye. They had fought together for years, and each one was someone he trusted with his life. We know how dangerous this is, but there's no other way to save those people. We can't leave them to die. When the day of the attack arrived, the rebel fleet silently advanced towards the Serren cruisers. In the dark void of space, the ships glided quietly. Marcus sat in the captain's chair, monitoring the ship's control panel. They were closing in on their target. The massive Serren cruisers ahead of them looked like space fortresses. Their armor was thick, and their weapons had the power to wipe out humanity in an instant. "Get ready," Marcus said over the radio to the entire crew. "In a few minutes, the battle will begin. Everyone, stick to the plan. If we fail, this is where it ends." The first laser blasts pierced through the darkness of space. The rebel ships advanced towards the weak points of the Serren cruisers, while the cruisers' massive energy cannons lit up the surrounding area. Marcus checked how much longer their shields could hold. "The shields are weakening. We need to move faster," he shouted. A sudden explosion rocked the left wing of Marcus's ship. "We've got damage on the left side," one of the engineers shouted. But Marcus kept his eyes fixed on the energy transfer points of the cruisers. "We need to hit our target. We can't leave until we've taken them all down." Fiona activated the ship's laser weapons, pressing a series of buttons beside her. "Target locked," she said with determination. Firing! In the next moment, a massive energy wave shot from the ship, striking one of the cruiser's weak points. An explosion erupted, and the huge hull of the cruiser began to shake. Marcus allowed himself a brief smile. The first cruiser was now vulnerable, but the others still posed a great threat. At that moment, one of the Serren cruisers launched a full-scale counterattack. Huge laser cannons fired towards Marcus's ship. "Shields are completely down," an engineer yelled. Fiona, remaining calm, continued checking the systems. "We can't hold out much longer, Marcus." But Marcus wasn't giving up. "If we don't hit the target exactly, we won't make it out of here," he said through clenched teeth. Everyone, do your best. Another series of explosions rocked the ship, and Marcus's vessel took heavy damage. But in one final effort, the ship charged toward one of the cruisers. Laser after laser fired, and with one final blast, the second cruiser erupted into flames. "We did it!" Marcus exclaimed, a victorious smile on his face. But this victory had come at a high cost. Their ships were severely damaged, and several crew members had been injured. Fiona approached Marcus and placed a hand on his shoulder. "We lost a few people, but we saved those colonies." Marcus took a deep breath. "Every victory in this war will come at a price. But we'll keep fighting for humanity. We'll bring the Serren Empire to its knees. No matter what." This victory had become a new beacon of hope for humans across the galaxy. The rebellion was growing into a greater threat to the Serren Empire with each passing day. But Marcus and his team knew that a long and difficult battle still lay ahead. When Marcus and his team returned to the base after their hard-fought victory, a heavy silence settled over the room. Everyone's face carried the same expression: exhaustion, but also hope. The destruction of the Serren cruiser fleet was the most significant success that showed the strength of humanity's resistance. But the war was far from over. The Serren Empire would not forgive this defeat and was sure to launch a much larger counterattack. Marcus stood in the command center, gazing at a dark holographic map, lost in thought. Reports of rebellion were spreading across the galaxy. Small groups everywhere were arming themselves and joining the resistance against Serren oppression. But Marcus knew that to make the rebellion permanent, they would have to strike at the heart of the Empire, its most fortified points. True freedom wouldn't come until the Empire was destroyed. Fiona approached him quietly. "The Serren are preparing a counterattack. 3 more fleets have mobilized. This time, they're targeting the Resistance headquarters directly. They're coming here, Marcus." Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight on his shoulders grow heavier. "We'll end this war here. If we lose our headquarters, the heart of the Resistance will be lost. Everyone needs to be ready. The great battle is coming." That night, the base was bustling with activity. All the allies of the human resistance had gathered to defend the headquarters. Fighters who were once slaves, technicians from underground cities, and rebel pilots from every corner of space had come together to win this fight. The Serren Empire's enormous fleets were approaching, but the resistance was prepared. Marcus stood in the command room, all eyes on him. "Tonight, we don't just fight for ourselves. We fight for all of humanity," he said with a strong voice. "The Serren enslaved us, tried to crush our hope. But we are still here. We chose to fight. And tonight, we will win this war." As the battle began, space turned into a fiery ring of destruction. When the Serren cruisers emerged from the dark void, the resistance ships immediately took defensive positions. Shields were strengthened, and laser cannons were locked onto targets. The first clashes echoed with explosions throughout space, signaling the seriousness of the fight. The Serren ships were enormous. Each one had the power to wipe out entire resistance fleets. But the resistance had an advantage: their small, fast ships, cleverly designed traps, and crews determined to fight. Marcus, glancing at the control panel of his ship, managed to keep his calm despite the chaos around him. "Is everyone ready? We're attacking." As Marcus's ship sped towards a Serren cruiser at incredible speed, explosions erupted all around them. Fiona was monitoring the shields on a nearby display. "The shields are depleting fast, Marcus. The enemy is too strong." Marcus gritted his teeth and gave orders to the crew. "Use quick maneuvers to protect the shields. We need to avoid their laser cannons. But when the time is right, we'll bring those cruisers down." A sudden explosion violently rocked the ship. "Heavy damage on the right side," one of the engineers shouted. But Marcus never took his eyes off the target. "Focus on the cruiser's energy transfer points. If we hit them there, their defenses will fall." Fiona activated the ship's laser cannons, her voice steady. "We're locked on target," she said resolutely. Firing! A massive energy wave shot from Marcus's ship, heading straight for the weak spot on the cruiser. After a few seconds of silence, a huge explosion echoed through space from the cruiser. The cruiser was now defenseless. Marcus smiled and shouted, "Direct hit." But the victory was short-lived. The other Serren ships immediately launched a counterattack. Gigantic laser cannons fired at the resistance ships. One ship exploded in a massive fireball. Marcus's ship took heavy damage. Fiona, without panicking, checked the systems. Marcus, our shields are completely down. We can't hold out much longer. Marcus took a deep breath. We're going to win this, Fiona. We need to hit the target precisely. Then, through the radio, he shouted to the entire crew, everyone, give it everything you've got. This is our last chance. All of the resistance ships launched one final wave of attacks. Laser cannons and energy waves struck the Serren cruisers one after the other. As a massive explosion shook the screens in the headquarters, the Serren fleet began to crumble. One by one, the gigantic cruisers were engulfed in flames and destroyed. Marcus could taste the victory. We did it, he said quietly, his eyes fixed on the depths of the galaxy. With this victory against the Galactic Empire, which had spread fear throughout the galaxy, humanity had taken one step closer to freedom. But the war wasn't over yet. Across the galaxy, there were still people enslaved, and Marcus had sworn to free them all. This is just the beginning, Fiona said as she approached Marcus. The war goes on. But now there's hope. Marcus, tired but determined, turned to her. Yes, Fiona. Now there's hope. And we will win this war. The Serren Empire will fall, no matter what. The victory of the resistance spread throughout the galaxy. People remembered that they could be free once again. Marcus and his team would lead the rebellions across the galaxy. The reign of the Serren Empire was shaken, and humanity would find its place again. The war wasn't over yet, but the first spark of victory had already ignited. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.